Hello there. I hope I find you well. I'm finished in the morning. I'm back in Oldcastle. I've had my lunch, and so we're starting off the usual way. The Father Shanchi's leaflet, Learning Christ. Teach me, my Lord, as your child, to be faithful and gentle in all the affairs of my life. Let me put myself aside to think of the happiness of others, and to hide my aches and pains, so that I might be the only one to suffer from them. Let me use my suffering that it may uh, teach me to profit from the suffering that comes across my path. Let me use my suffering that it may mellow me, not harden me, as the way to do it. May no one be less good for having come within my influence. May no one be less pure, less true, less kind, less noble for having been a fellow traveller on my journey towards eternal life. We're all on that journey, and it's one journey we won't be coming back from. But as good Catholics and practicing Catholics, we have the great gift of the Catholic faith. So we go to Mass every Sunday or the Vigil Mass on Saturday, and we go to confession at least once a month to save our mortal souls and to receive Holy Communion, kneeling at the altar rails, attended by a priest with a paten under the chin of the communicant to protect the sacred host. And put back all the altar rails in all the Catholic church in this country for deluded bishops to return shame removed when they were paid for by the parishioners. So put them back at your own expense. I notice they're not back because they're too mean to do anything, that I can see. And put them back and people receive Holy Communion kneeling at the altar rails in a reverent fashion. That's the way it should be done. Uh, and Rosary and Benediction re-established men's and women's adulteries to strengthen families, the Holy Hour, um, exposition of the Blessed Sacrament in every Catholic church. As I go my rounds, let me, as a faithful member of your church, often whisper a word of love to thee. Now, Jesus, you live in me and I live in you. That's a lovely one to say during the day. And when you visit a church, greet Jesus in the tabernacle. How are you, Jesus? I'm looking at you and you're looking at me. Isn't that lovely? May I live my life in the supernatural, full of powerful good, and strong in its purpose of becoming holy through Christ our Lord. Amen. My adorable the unity prayer. My adorable Jesus, may our feet journey together. May our hands gather in unity. May our souls be in harmony. May our thoughts be as one. May our ears listen to the silence together. Silence is golden. May our lips pray together to gain mercy from the eternal Father. Amen. O Blessed Mother, spread the effective grace of thy flame of love over all humanity to save their immortal souls. Now we come to uh, the Legion of the Holy Family, and in Latin, Legio Sancta Familia. And there's the prodigal son, and there's the logo for it's Legio Sancta Familia, and with Jesus as a young person, and his mother Mary, and the guardian Saint Joseph. And there's the prodigal son, and it says, Father, I have sinned against heaven, and before thee I am not worthy to be called thy son. And that's Luke chapter 15, verse 21. And it's a painting by Leonel Espada in 1576 to 1622. Isn't it lovely? Now, the instruments of the Passion. First point. On devotion to the nails which attach Jesus to the cross. Doubtless, if we see in these nails only a piece of common iron, they do not deserve any worship. But if we look upon them as empurpled with the divine blood which they caused to spring forth from the veins of Jesus, as impregnated with his flesh which they tore, as consecrated by their sojourn in that same flesh, who is there that does not see how vulnerable they are and what lessons they impart to us. They recall that spirit of obedience and submission, which is the real spirit of Christianity, and which is so opposed to the spirit of the world which dreams of nothing but liberty and independence. The executioner said to Jesus, "Stretch out thy hand, stretch down to thy feet, that we may pierce them with nails." Jesus obeys. They nail him to the cross, and he loses all power of movement. God, it's the worst thing that could ever happen with the forces of evil. And sometimes excuses is made for them. We've never heard that like it. Pure evil. And that did that to the Caiaphas and his cronies. Let his blood be on us and our children. Now, we continue that now, the rest tomorrow, please God. And now we do Totus, Tuus, edition 49, the magazine. And it's Christian persecution. In India, we hear about churches destroyed, pastors jailed, and home gatherings and healing prayers banned. One incident in June involved a mob accompanied by local officials in Rajasthan attacking a Christian woman's shelter over allegations of fraud and conversions. There must be a crowd of savages in that country too. Data from the United Christian Forum, cited in the report, indicate that in 2025, at least 50 incidents of persecution occurred every day across India, with only about 5% ever reported. Doesn't say much for that miserable country. They can't respect Christians. The cheek of them. And call themselves a democracy. They're not a democracy or anything neither. We leave it at that. And we leave it at that, so we will. And we continue the daily reflection, and I'll do 2 days of the daily reflection because I didn't do it yesterday, and then for today, like.